Welcome to In Vivo Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Laylee. Before I start with our awesome subject, which is I don't mean to be a jerk, but the 6th episode, I do want to say I am very sorry for taking this long to post another podcast. I've had a couple months where I really wanted to reflect and think about whether I really understand what I'm putting out there and spend time really understanding myself in the individual leadership strategies and what are some of the ways that I want to stand out and help others. And it really did take me a couple months. Honestly, it was needed. And I came back with, yeah, I do. I really do. And I'm really happy to be back to the podcast world. So again, my sincere apologies. It was more for me than anything else to make sure that the content that I'm putting there has authenticity. That's so big for me. I want to be authentic. I want to talk to the audience and talk about subjects that mean a lot to them, especially in the leadership world. So with that said, let me go into what the 6th episode is about. As a leadership coach, as an educator, and someone who knows firsthand that leadership doesn't always feel steady or polished, what I want to talk about is resilience. Not the bounce back like nothing has ever happened version of resilience, but the version where you feel all of it. You recover and you still show up. You still try to be the best version of yourself. And your best version can be, amazing. It could be medium. It could be low, but you still show up. And I think to me, that is what resilience is. This episode is all about leading with that and finding ways that even if you do break down, you get right back up. So if you've ever had a hard week, a month, or a year, I've had rough years since COVID, and I think I finally am in a place where I'm very proud to say, woo, I made it. This is the right place for you. Know that I understand and feel all of that for you. So I want to spend some time talking about what resilience is really. So let's start with something gentle. You don't need to be unshakable to be a good leader. Let me say that again. You don't need to be unshakable to be a good leader. Resilience isn't about having it all together. It's not about pretending things don't affect you. Resilience is actually feeling everything fully and choosing not to give up on your purpose in the process. This is one of the biggest pieces that I try to bring to my students and say, when you are in a leadership position, you have values, you have purpose, and you should not give that up once you're in those roles because things happen. You want to show and perform a certain way. And to some leaders, it means to give up your values and your purpose. I want to go into the psychology and how that's defined. So psychologists define it as the ability to adapt well in face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant source of stress. You adapt well. It's not perfectly and it's not painless, just with intention. So why do we burn out? So if you're listening to this, I bet you have a lot of experience and you've carried more than most people you know. And it's because you've let through change. Maybe it's through grief. Maybe it's through decisions that no one else wanted to touch. I was very much a people pleaser when I was a first-time leader. And I wanted to keep showing up, wanted to show ways that I cared, that I was there for my people. And I want you to pause and ask yourself, have you been giving yourself space to process, not just push? Have you given yourself space to process? I was telling my students last week something about challenging the process of things and that you look for opportunities and you take risks. But the risk doesn't matter if you don't take the time to reflect about your risks, what the results of those risks were, whether it's a failure or a success. Because here's the thing. If we connect it back to the burnout, we burn out when we carry everything ourselves. We don't feel we can give ourselves permission to rest, or maybe there is an outside environment and a culture where it doesn't give us permission to rest, or we think resilience means you have to keep going when it actually means you need to recover and keep going. We just continuously feel like we have to deliver, especially if you're a type A leader. I love to work out every single day. I've gotten better at not doing that because I need my body to recover. And the more I age, the more I realize how important it is. So it felt really shameful to do that. And now I have gotten somewhere better where I know I need time off. So yesterday I took time off. I was just lying down on the couch, enjoying some nice M&Ms and watching one of my favorite TV show, which was The Office. So let me get real with you for a moment. This is what it means to be resilient, is you find out ways that you can show up for yourself and show up for your people. I've had seasons where I was so exhausted. My calendar was completely full. 14 hours a day, but my heart felt completely depleted. Even if my calendar was full and I was doing what my purpose was, I felt so tired and so dead. I was saying all the right things in meetings, but I wasn't feeling anything. I was just kind of managing it, going with the flow, just kind of functioning. And that's what I thought was resilience. But it's not resilience. What I was doing is what I came to know later on, much later on in my life, as somewhat of like a survival process. And there's a difference between resilience and survival. And resilience showed up the moment I started asking myself, what needs my attention emotionally right now? Where do I need to slow down to lead better? And here's what helped me. And I share this actually quite a bit throughout my lectures with students and with clients when I do see that they're burnt out or tired. The first one being the micro recoveries. And that's just taking 10 minutes between meetings to breathe, to stretch. The second one, just naming emotions. So instead of saying, no, I'm fine, everything's good, I'm okay, nothing's going on, this is normal, I stop, I pause, and I say, you know what? I feel overwhelmed. I really need 15 minutes to just rest. I need 15 minutes to be away from people. It feels weird the first couple times you do it, and then you see how well it serves you. And you come back and you realize that this is a very important piece of information that you have discovered about yourself, and you're continuously going to practice naming the emotion. The third one is being able to reflect. And I want to tie this to not reacting very quick. When I work with leaders, I realize that we tend to be more reactive than proactive. And here's what I mean by that. When I ask a question in a call with a leader, I can see immediately there's no pause and they're answering the question right away. I am guilty of that as well. So I don't want it to make it sound like Laylee is perfect. Not at all. I still do it, especially as a consultant. If a client asks me questions, I feel like I have to prove myself to them. And I immediately talk back. Where I think what needs to happen for a lot of us is we need to take that reflection and we need to take a pause. So if a question was answered, acknowledge what that question was. It's the same thing with building resilience. So let me go back to the reflecting. What I would recommend is asking yourself, what's this teaching me? Not just how do I fix this? It's a tough change and it's a tough shift. Again, as leaders, we want to be reactive. If something is falling apart, we want to jump in there and we want to fix it. But we need to understand what it is that it's teaching us. Because if we go in there and we fix it, we may have missed the ultimate lesson behind whatever has happened. And then the last habit is letting go of the need to be the strongest in the room. This is so hard. So hard to do. We want to show that we can do it all. But what's really interesting about letting go of the need to be the strongest one in the room is you're actually letting go of your hubristic ego. Your team, you chose them, or maybe you walked into a team and you had those people under you. Whatever your situation is, you have a team, and your team members, some of them are stronger than you are. Some of them do things better than you. So if you walk in the room and you have this high and mighty energy about you, your team is going to feel all of that. Versus if you come with humility, if you come with knowing that people are going to catch spelling errors, people are going to catch you saying stupid things. There are times where I listen to this podcast and I realize, oh my God, why did I say this as a plural versus singular? You're being watched. And you have to admit to yourself that you are not the strongest person in the room. But what makes you different, why you're in that leadership position, is you are there to support and help everyone else. So it's not so much that as a leader you are the strongest. It is very much so that you are one who can support and help your team and be the better version of themselves every single day with you. So if you're a leader, besides knowing the daily habits of building your resilience, I want to give you tools where you can start using it after this podcast. You can create a team, is my first recommendation. And it's 2 to 3 people who check in on you. I have a wonderful mentor. I have a wonderful significant other who has background in business that I talk to. I have my sister who has been on this podcast, who has leadership experience and is a director in an aesthetics company. Those are, for instance, 3 individuals where I can be very honest and talk to them. I also recommend journaling. What felt heavy? What energized you? I have a daily planner every day. In the mornings, I write what I'm grateful for. I write what I'm excited about. End of the day, I have what I accomplished that I'm really proud of. And then area of improvement. And I do this every single day to have those reflective moments, to be honest with myself, besides my A team, besides the team that's going to give me the truth. I've had clients who feel like there are times where you are really crushed. And in moments like that, we tend to forget to ask ourselves, what did I bounce back from this week? And we get really sucked into the negativity of what has happened to us, which is a very victim mentality. And by all means, it's completely understandable that you go there, because when things happen to us and we think we're good people, we question it. What you can do instead is just say, hey, what is this teaching me? And then the last piece of the tool in the toolkit are boundaries. Not everything is yours to fix. You, for instance, continuously carry the emotional burdens of your team. Where I think what needs to happen is, do you have control over the things that they're doing that they may be stressed about that you can help them with? If there are things you can help them with, fantastic. If they are out of your control, they are out of your control. You are human, and you need to understand those boundaries that are there. You cannot save, you cannot help everybody. It's amazing that we all try, but if there are ways that we can show up rather than to carry that emotion, I think that's a lot better. Let's talk about what resilience leadership sounds like. You would hear something along the lines of accountability, where someone says, I was wrong. Thank you for pointing that out. You can also hear it through the different transformational changes, especially with technology. I mean, AI is everywhere, everywhere. So you would hear something along the lines of, hey, this change is really hard, but we're going to get through it. And we're going to get through it together. Another one is, you may get a question and you have no idea what that question is. Remember how I told you we tend to react and say, oh, yeah. And we give a whatever answer where we really should have researched it, because the question really needed us to research the answer. So you would say something along the lines of, I don't know yet, but I am happy to find out and get back to you. And you would hear it through empathy. If someone is going through hardship with this new AI implementation, what you would hear is, I see how this is impacting you. I am so sorry that you are going through this. Let's work through it together. What questions do you have for me? What are some ways that I can show and support you? Resilience is not about dominating. It's not about giving the right answer in the right moment. It's really holding space for our people to be heard. And resilience really gives us better teams as a result. So when you lead with resilience, you give your team permission to be human. You give your team permission to ask for help, to take healthy risks, your innovation. You're recovering from mistakes. You're growing authentically, not fearfully. So in short, what resilience is doing is building innovation. It's building trust. It's building credibility for you. It's building loyalty for you. Resilience isn't always loud. It could be in moments where you don't send the snarky reply. It's a time you decide to pause the meeting and ask, how are we really doing? It could be a choice to sleep instead of overwork. And the moment that you can admit to yourself, like, I am tired. I am tired. And these small moments, they build leadership that lasts because you are transparent. So let's check in. If you've been powering through, if you've been leading on autopilot, if you've been saying yes to everything but yourself, which aka if you're people pleasing, this is for you. This is your sign. I am your sign right now. Pause. Not because you're feeling and not because you're not giving your all. You're human. And being human is not a liability in leadership. It's your greatest advantage. And I'll tell you this, the more human you are with your people, and I don't mean you start crying and you throw a fit. I'm not talking about that. You're authentically who you are. That's what I'm talking about. That is your greatest advantage. If you're having a hard time with this AI implementation, but you show up in your meeting with your team and you're talking about it, that like, oh, it's going to be amazing, it's going to be fantastic, and you don't believe in that, and this is the message that you're giving to your team, oh boy, they will feel that 100%. So your greatest advantage is to be transparent. So if you don't feel super comfortable with it, you can go to that meeting and say, this is what's happening. We're implementing this AI piece in here and here, here. And then say, I understand that you're struggling. I have moments where I'm struggling too, but we are going to get through this together. We will figure this out together. That type of leader means more to me than the one who is inauthentically telling me how wonderful all of these changes are going to be. So let's wrap up. I'm going to ask you 3 questions that I want you to think about from this podcast. Is there an area where you are resilient and you may not even realize it? And maybe this is a really good question to ask your team. And when I say team, I mean your A team, the 2-3 people that you have, that you trust. Second is, where do you need to let go of control to recover? Is there an area where you're tightly holding on? I'll give you an example. I have a really good friend of mine that wants to always drive. Like whenever we go somewhere, they always want to drive. They always want to take us somewhere. No one else can drive. They feel more comfortable being in control. And there was one instance where I had my significant other drive, and I told the person, hey, so he's going to drive. And they were like, wait, but I can do it. I said, you got this. Let go of control. You got this. And you know what? 20-minute pass and it was done. Let go of control. Find ways where you are not in control, but in your mind, you're trying to hold on tightly to it. Third question, who can you support in their resilient journey? Whatever their resilient journey is, how can you help them? So for instance, I have a student who, and I'm giving an example, this is not a real life scenario, but let's say I have a student who's trying to work on their presentation skills. And as a leader, what I want to do is support that. So what are some ways that I can support them? I'll maybe spend some time during office hours and ask them, what are some ways that I can show up for you? Maybe I give them ways that they can present in class, right? So take these questions, ask yourself, go for a walk, maybe journal or think about it in the weekend. And remember this, you don't have to do it all. You just have to return to yourself over and over and over again. It's hard not to be a jerk. Sometimes we don't mean to be a jerk. In some ways, there is control of that aspect. And that is, 1, we show up in our most resilient form. If this episode helped you take a breath and shift your mindset or see yourself more gently, I love to hear from you. My website is www.invivoleadershipstrategies.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Layli Sadaghiani. Share this with a fellow leader, tag me, send a message. I am also available on Instagram. And hey, keep showing up, keep growing, and don't be a jerk, okay? Nobody likes that. Don't be a jerk. All right.